Hey, San Antonio, this is Rob, and tonight we are partying here at the MetalWorks, and it brings me esteemed pleasure to welcome vocal legend and astute frontman, Mr. David Wayne, formerly of Metal Church, now leading the vocal attack with Reverend. How are you doing, David?
Great. Awesome. Good to be here.
I can't believe you're right here, man, hanging out with me. There's a lot of young people out there who watch this program, so I don't want to assume that everyone who's watching the interview tonight knows who David Wayne is. Can you just a little bit touch upon the accolades of David Wayne with Metal Church and now with some of the newer work that you're doing with Reverend and other bands?
I'll try and keep it in a nice, tight synopsis, encapsulated form. Basically, hooked up with a bunch of radical metalheads in 1983 who call themselves Shrapnel, who later changed their names to Metal Church. Kurt Vanderhoof and our band had known the seeds of Metallica before they really made the grade out of the Bay Area. So with their help, they planted the seeds that got Metal Church signed back in 1984 to Elektra Records, which was the label that Metallica was on. So we were always indebted to Metallica, always grateful that they believed in our music and liked us to the point that they would tell their own label, hey, you better sign these guys before somebody else does. So there was the Metal Church years that lasted till about 1988, at which time we parted company. There was a lot of different problems in the band, and so I went my way, they went their way, and I relocated down to Los Angeles and started a band called Reverend, which ironically was the band whose lead singer joined Metal Church. I didn't want it to be that way. It was very strange. I hadn't planned it. I didn't want it to be, but I had hooked up with people like Randy Piper, a Wasp, and different bands I was trying out for to get a band to going after the Metal Church scene. And it just turned out that the Heretic Boys had the crunchiest, gnarliest music, and so it was a no-brainer for me to decide to go along with them, even though their singer was in Metal Church, and it was funny. So anyway, then so Reverend took off, and later on that time, which you probably know, the Bifus Boys out of San Antonio came up down to Los Angeles, and I produced their record in 1990. But it was really cool because coming back to San Antonio was such a time warp for me. I remember the bus coming through when Metal Church did their tours, and we played in here. Actually, Davey Lee of Bifus, his mom cooked us some authentic homemade Mexican food for us, and we were quite hungry, and it did hit the spot. But it's cool to come back to San Antonio because after making so many friends in SA, I flew down here just to hang out too and party after the Metal Church played because it was just a fun town to be with and a lot of good friends. Anyway, so you had Reverend, and Reverend, I brought it back up to Seattle, parted company with the guys in LA, and hooked up with Todd Stoats from a band called Gangland, and we continued the metal Reverend thing up north and put out this Gathering of Demons CD last year. But meanwhile, another thing happened where Metal Church got back together and did a masterpiece record, which did okay, and then we did a live record, which again did okay. But again, the old problems crept back up into in the mix between the boys and I just couldn't see going through all the crap all over again. And I love the guys in Metal Church. We had such a long history together, but it just hurts me to see the same old problems rear their heads, you know. So that's kind of the synopsis with, and Wayne, of course. I got signed to Nuclear Blast and cut a record we called it Metal Church because Metal Church gave me their blessings to carry on the Metal Church name. Then after I had the deal solidified, turned around and told me, no, it's not cool, you can't use the name, and I was already had the matrix going for Metal Church, so I called the album Metal Church and called the band Wayne. But we're up here right now because I'm back with my old Bifus guys, Davey Lee, Nacho Vara, and the rest of the Bifus gangs, but Todd and I, we lost a couple of band members in Seattle. Davey heard about it, was like stoked to even think that maybe we might jam together. And of course, we were more than happy to ask him to jump on board with the boys and I, with Todd and I. And so hence we have a new band with a new nucleus and a new lineup.
Thank you for sharing that beautiful piece of information. You have seemed to sum up the whole fucking history there in one swallow soup. Beautiful thing. Now let's move ahead and talk about the CD. I know you guys are still supporting A Gathering of Demons in San Antonio. For some of you who haven't checked it out, this is the latest from David Wayne and Reverend. Go out there and look for it. And you mentioned earlier that now you have a direct link to this town, man.
That's right.
You have a direct link to the lifeline of San Antonio metal with Davey Lee and Nacho in the lineup. Yep. Tell me a little bit about what you guys have been doing as of late, because I've been hearing you all are already jamming and are going to have new music and so forth. So tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, well, of course, Davey Lee's has sent me some CDs up north. We've been listening to those. Todd and I are crunching down on those. And what's going to happen more or less is that we will sign a new deal. It won't be a problem. I can tell you that. There's a lot
of... You keep it under your label, though?
That's really dependent on you. Whenever you're looking at a deal being offered as a band, you got to consider what your needs are in the band, what you'd like to exploit in the band, and who's going to be best suited to fulfill the needs of the band. I know we'll have several offers for the boys and I. I'm not worried about it at all, because obviously there's a lot of history out there and there's a lot of talent in this group, so it won't be a problem.
And what about after, if you do get the deal, you just want to go out and hit the road? I mean, you know, you're a veteran of the metal scene. Can you go out and support this record like you probably should be supported?
Oh yeah, of course. You never know how it's going to go with the way the music scene is in America. I may end up doing a Beans and Frijoles tour with the boys, where we'll be in a van and just suffering, which, hey, I've done it before, I'll do it again, and it ain't no big deal. It's part of paying dues in rock and roll. More likely it would be a bare bones tour in the States. Of course, there's, you know what's cool about Texas is you guys got such a cool metal stronghold down here. Up north, they're still into, I mean, nothing against hip-hop or anything. It ain't my bag. I don't understand it.
No, go ahead and
it's right over my head. I don't dig it. It nauseates me. Okay, I said it. I'm not down with rap, Holmes. I don't get it.
Me neither.
So hard rock is where it's at with me. It always has been. It's always, when I dream in Judas Priest. I mean, that's how it is. So we'll probably do a bare bones tour in the States, and more than likely go over to Europe and play a tour in Europe. Europe again is like the South. They won't relinquish their death hold on heavy metal. Europe loves heavy metal the way San Antonio loves heavy metal. It's never going to go away.
You'll definitely always have a place to hang out here at the MetalWorks, David. Any last words for the people out there in San Antonio, man, before we wrap up?
No, thanks for the support.
Remember San Antonio, Reverend. They're part of our family now here in San Antonio. They rock on Rob's MetalWorks.